I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not hear me. No, we're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all. We should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back. Start it from scratch. I won't let you go. No, I can't let you go. 'Cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go. No, baby, I will not. Because I still believe. You're my gravity. You will never be what I expected. Different frequencies, that's why we ain't connected. You know I will make it through. I got nothing to lose but you. It's true you're so far away, and it's true I can feel the same. It's another day, you know you want me to stay, but I go my way. I won't let you go. No, I can't let you go. 'Cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go. No, baby, I will not. Because I still believe. You're my gravity. You're my gravity. You're calling out my name, but the echo numbs your pain. Sorry, but more than just a shadow, I'm more than just a man. You don't care how I feel, you don't know how I feel. No, you don't know how. I wash away the sorrow till my heart can beat again. You're my gravity. No, you're my gravity. I will let you go. The only thing that I know, you were my gravity, but now I have to leave. I will let you go. What do you think that I want? What do you think that I want? I know how to breathe into my gravity. 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 I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not hear me. No, we're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all. We should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back. Start it from scratch. I won't let you go. No, I can't let you go. 'Cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go. No, baby, I will not.
Warning. The Duracell Cup Series data file you have attempted to access is out of date. Uploading current file now.
It's a brand new car from stem to stern, and it's never been raced at these speeds.
The next gen car is opportunity.
Everything is different with the exception of like the seat, the steering wheel, and your helmet.
Unknown creates excitement.
Talking about my generation.
Good afternoon, race fans, and welcome here as we prepare for our first elimination race of the playoffs here in Season 8 of the NNSCRA Duracell Next Gen Cup Series. Getting ready to cap off our race weekend here from the Nashville Super Speedway. And as mentioned, 16 drivers began this journey to try to become the Duracell Next Gen Cup Series champion. The road will come to an end for 4 drivers excuse me, at the conclusion of this one, as we will have 12 drivers moving on into the next round. And at this point in time, nobody is locked into the next round in terms of our 16 playoff contenders, as the last 2 weeks, our first 2 playoff races, have had non-playoff drivers go to victory lane, with Eric Monaco getting his first career win at Gateway, Connor Breeden his second win on the season last week at the road course of Road America. So as of right now, all 16 drivers are relying on points to get themselves into the top 12. Now remember, if any of our 16 drivers go to victory lane here today, regardless of where they are, they could be leading the points, they could be the 16th driver in points. They're moving on, they're locked in. A lot of drivers, I feel like, are kind of in that must-win category right now. Maybe that mentality based on where they are in relation to the cut line. We'll be talking a lot about 12th in the stands here today, because that's the cut line. You either have to be it or above to be able to transfer. If you're below, at the conclusion of 105 laps, you are not battling for the championship any longer. Well, opportunity here for 3 in a row in this playoffs of a non-playoff driver going to victory lane, as Benjamin Snyder picked up the pole position in yesterday's pole day qualifying session. Snyder still looking for that first career victory, and it will be an all-Ford front row, as highest playoff contending starter will be RJ Bishop. RJ coming into this race 10th in the point standings, had a solid outing last week at Road America in a race that he came into that one below the cut line. He's now above the cut line, but it's not by much. 5 points to the good over that cut line. So good starting track position. That's at least a plus. Needs to maintain it here today. Row 2 comprised completely of drivers that are in the playoffs, but on different sides of the cut line. Destin Boland going to start 3rd. Destin coming into this race 7th in overall points. The 4-time winner is 16 points ahead of the cut line, whereas Nick Gunther, he ended up having a poor run at Gateway. He did decent at Road America, gained a couple of spots, but he's still below the cut line, but only by 1 singular point below 12th in the standings. It is super, super close. I can't wait until we give you that rundown of what the playoff standings look like, because it is really, really close. The only driver right now, well, there may be 2 drivers that could lock themselves in on points before this race is even concluded, would be Reggie Fogelman and Ryan Brommer. Fogelman comes into this race 41 points ahead of the cut line. Ryan Brommer 35 points ahead of the cut line. Now, the most a driver can gain here in a Duracell Next Gen Cup Series race is 47 points. That's lead a lap, lead the most laps, and win the race. There is mathematically a possibility that Reggie Fogelman and Ryan Brommer could fall below the 12th position in the stands, but a lot of stuff would have to take place for that to occur. pretty much the way it was calculated for Fogelman and Breimer, if they finish this race up inside the top 30, they've got enough points. They're locked into the next round. They're moving on, even if they don't win here today. Just top 30 result is all they need to be able to move on. For other drivers, it's not going to be nearly that easy. They're going to need top 5s. They're going to need top 10s here today in order to move on. As I said, a few drivers may have to rely on a victory. But we'll talk about all those scenarios here in just a moment. It's time to go down trackside and get those most famous words in motorsports here from Nashville Superspeedway.
Drivers, start your engines!
42 drivers will roll off behind the Toyota Camry pace car. You'll see your starting lineup on the right side of your screen. Let's make sure everyone gets off the grid here. Looks like everything good here so far. So your point standings coming into this race. This is how it looks. Fogelman, the points leader, 6 points in hand over Ryan Brommer. We talked about their distance to the cut line. Carson Gum is third in points. He's 31 points ahead of the cut line. Levi McIntyre fourth. He's 21 points ahead. Jack Mitchell has jumped up to fifth. He is 17 points ahead of the cut line. 16 points ahead of the cut line in sixth is Michael Norman. We mentioned Destin Bolin. He's also 16 points ahead of the cut line in seventh. Alexander Rowe is eighth. He's 15 points ahead of the cut line. Only 7 points ahead in ninth is Daniel Voiles. 5 points ahead in 10th is RJ Bishop. Eric Sadler is 11th. He is only 1 point to the good above the cut line. The cut line driver is James Qualls in that 70 car. We'll talk about the 4 drivers below the cut line and what they need to do here this afternoon. But 105 laps await us here in our first elimination race of the season at Nashville. Snyder clear for the lead. Destin Bolin tried to clear for second. RJ Bishop will battle back on the top side. If you didn't tune in yesterday to our late series race, that outside line, as it rubbers in, it is a viable passing option. Snyder will lead the first lap. Battle will still be for second place. Bishop way up there, almost to the wall, trying to rip the top, get that run off the corner. Looks like he will do so. He'll clear into second place. Look at him, 3 wide behind. That's Eric Sadler making a dive there. Playoff contenders, 3 abreast with Fogelman in the middle. Gunther on the top side. James Qualls, the cut line driver. That yellow and black Wix Filter Chevrolet. He's up here in the top 10 after he started this race from 6th. Gunther's gotten himself cleared into 4th behind Destin Bolin. Fogelman will now take 5th. 6th place under contest. Qualls trying to clear Eric Sadler and will do so. You saw Sadler make that dive down there to the bottom. It's really difficult to get the power down off the corner if you're on that inside line. We saw that yesterday. And you can get freight train down there. Drivers will line up to your outside and they will freight train around you for position. Now you see Nick Gunther try to get to the inside of Destin Bolin. If you're going to try to make that move, you've got to make that pass quickly, or else, as we see here, Fogelman will now get to his outside and challenge him for that 4th spot. See Matt Haas, 3-time winner up there on the top side. Let's talk about those 4 drivers below the cut line coming into this race that need to get above 12th in the standings at the conclusion in order to move on to the next round. First driver out, we already documented in Nick Gunther, currently running up there inside of the top 5. Well, might actually slip out of the top 5 there as James Qualls gets to his outside. Gunther only 1 point below James Qualls, who coincidentally was the driver he was just battling right there. Summer Henson battling in that Rookie of the Year contest with Eric Monaco. Total of 3 points below the cut line, 14th in the standings. Nathan Ormond is 15th in points. He's a total of 6 points below the cut line. And then Matt Haas, who we're looking at here right now, he comes into this race 16th of the 16 playoff drivers, drops 7 spots in the standings after Road America last week. And he is a total of 10 points below the 12th in the standings cut line. So when you consider the fact that coming into an elimination race, that there's only 10 points separating the cut line driver to those that are below. That's still quite close. But a lot depends on this driver, James Qualls. He's the benchmark right now. He's the cut line driver. Where he finishes kind of determines where that cut line is going to be potentially. Of course, as well, he could leapfrog some other drivers. I mean, right now, I believe he would be just ahead of Eric Sadler, according to live points. Daniel Voiles didn't qualify all that well here this weekend. Neither did Jack Mitchell. Neither did Michael Norman. Neither did Alexander Rose. So for those drivers that did not get good starting track position, they could, right here, right now, find themselves below the cut line. As soon as that green flag dropped, checking in on some of those drivers that qualified back towards the rear of the field. Voiles is in 35th. Carson Gum is back in 31st place. Alexander Rowe has moved his way up through the field, actually. Started outside of the top 25. He's in 29th now. Furthest back of our playoff drivers would be Nathan Ormond. He's back in 39th, and he was one of those drivers that came in below the cut line. Single filed out here. You've got 4 playoff contenders up here inside of the top 5. 5 inside of the top 6. Dylan Young right now in the 7th spot in the 2 car. Great run for Dylan last week. Still searching for that top 5 though. He and Daniel Bouchard are the only 2 drivers, well, Austin LaPlante as well, the only 3 drivers that are still looking to score a top 5 here 29 races into the season. But Dylan moved up 4 spots in the standings last week to 29th. It's Cody Lamas putting the pressure here on Nick Gunther, who we saw kind of get freight trained on that inside line. He's drifted back now to the 10th position, just behind Keith Batson in the 39. Keith Batson, a very happy team owner here this weekend, as Cat Batson had a solid outing here in the lights race yesterday. And who was the other one? Was it Jackson Haywood? Jackson Haywood, I think, was the other one that also had a top 10 run. So looks like some pretty strong KB Racing Enterprises cars here this weekend on both the lights and the cup side, as Laura Chung currently in 8th ahead of Batson. Laura 30th in points coming into this one. Been a much different season for her at Auto Junction Racing in comparison to last season. And Dustin Bolin has now closed up on his Young Motorsports teammate, RJ Bishop. See if he tries making any kind of a move here or not, or if he just decides to ride in line. If you're going to try and make a pass on somebody, there's one of 2 ways to do it. Either you get to their right rear quarter panel, draft them back and utilize that outside line to your benefit, or you do what very few drivers were able to do even yesterday in the Light Series race, and that's be able to get a run right here from the center of the corner off, as we're going to go 3 wide for second place. Look at Fogelman shooting up the middle here with Bishop and Bolin. Cat Batson was one driver yesterday that was able to make a pass on the inside line, stayed alongside of the driver she was battling, and then was able to get the power down through the center of the corner. I believe it was over in 3 and 4, and get the straight line speed to clear by the time they got over to turn 1. Easier said than done, but Fogelman might be able to do it right here. Look at this, rolling the bottom. It's not clear. Here comes Bishop back. Let's see if Fogelman can have another solid 3 and 4. Runs a little higher up there off the bottom, maybe trying to see if he can get some momentum. I think he's going to complete this pass. Does he try clearing up? He can if he wants to, but he's not doing it yet. He'll stay low again. Now I believe he's clear, so there you go. Reggie Fogelman patiently wrapping the bottom on both sides of the racetrack, and he'll go into second place. That kind of maneuverability that we're looking for here at a racetrack like Nashville Superspeedway, concrete-based, 1 1/3 miles. It's all about grip. because these tires wear down a ton. I mean, right now we're looking at drivers and the fastest laps they ran in comparison to what they're running now, 17 laps in. They're running anywhere from 6, 7, 8 tenths off what they turned in the opening laps. Now, I know a lot of that is in relation to the fact that we're having a lot of side-by-side battling. Nobody's got the optimal lane going through these corners, but I guarantee you that tires are coming into play here. And we saw yesterday in the late series race, a lot of drivers utilized the undercut to be able to gain track position. Nathan Stapleton was actually able to do just that. After he lost the race lead on the racetrack, he was able to gain it back on pit road strategy. So keep an eye out for that when we start getting into the window of these drivers having to come to pit road, which we understand is going to be somewhere in the 30 to 35 lap range, based off of the numbers we saw in the lights race here yesterday, as Benjamin Snyder continues to show the way. Saw a couple of weeks ago Eric Monaco get his first career win. We've had a number of first-time winners here this season, mostly rookies. Summer Henson winning back at Homestead, and Eric Sadler winning at North Wilkesboro. Snyder looking to become the, would that be the fifth rookie, or not the fifth rookie, the fifth driver to go to victory lane for the first time in their Duracell Next Gen Cup Series career. But here comes Reggie Fogelman. We saw what he was able to do in bypassing RJ Bishop for second. Let's see what he can do now for the race lead. James Quall's on the move. He got around Keith Batson just moments ago to move up to fourth place. Exactly the run that he needed coming in tonight. A lot of pressure in that cut line position, 12th in the standings. Dylan Young has followed him up into the top 5 as well. See Fogelman running a little higher there through 1 and 2. Maybe trying to generate a run. Certainly trying to get some clean air to the nose, as he's lost a tiny bit of ground there on Benjamin Snyder. Here's some drivers I'd be worried about. Daniel Voiles in the 26, Nathan Ormond in the 23. Both of them way, way back here at the very rear of the field, and these are drivers that cannot afford a bad run. Ormond especially, but even Daniel Voiles was only 7 points ahead of the cut line coming into tonight. And Voiles actually ran the lights race here yesterday, so you would think a little bit of extra added experience would have helped him out in tonight's race and being able to move forward, but that is not the case. He's dead last. Ormond last time by was scored in 40th. I believe he's going to snipe his teammate Matt McIntyre for 39th right here at the start-finish line. Let's see who else is back here struggling. Carson Gum trying to get something going on that top side against Jesse Turner. Last time by he was in 35th. Now Carson, not quite as perilous a situation as those other two, since he was 31 points above the cut line coming into tonight. I believe, if I can quickly do the math, I believe he needed to finish in the top 25 this evening, and he would be locked into the next round. Who else have we got up here for playoff drivers? There's Jack Mitchell. Saw Jack run the lights race here yesterday. Right now, 26th for him. He was 17 points to the good coming into this race. Alexander Rowe, who was 8th in points, 15 points above the cut line. He's in 25th. Ryan Brommer, I mentioned for him and Reggie Fogelman, both of them just needed to finish up inside the top 30. They're both there. Brommer in 21st, Fogelman in 2nd. Summer Henson below the cut line. Nick Gunther, James Qualls are running ahead of her. So is Matt Haas. So right now I would say Summer is still in an elimination spot in 19th place right now. Michael Norman is 16th. 16 points ahead of the cut line. Tied for 6th in points. And there's Eric Sadler. We saw him kind of get freight trained out of the top 10. He's back in 14th place now. Levi McIntyre, he's in 13th for the time being. Levi was, what, 21 points ahead of the cut line. So I'd say he's in good shape right now to advance. And it looks like Dustin Boland's gotten bypassed, getting freight trained on that outside line there as he's been pinned down to the bottom. He's going to lose 8th. He's going to lose 9th, and he'll be in danger of losing 10th here, maybe even 11th and 12th if they continue to freight train him there around the top. There's Eric Monaco working his way on by. Got his first career win at Gateway a couple of weeks ago. Battle between him and Summer Henson for the Rookie of the Year award continues to be hot and heavy. 1 point separation between those two coming into this race. Monaco over Henson. Eric Sadler, Daniel Bouchard still a distant 3rd and 4th, 13 and 16 points respectively out of the lead, and the season is winding down rapidly. So it looks like it will continue to be Monaco versus Henson, and the way things are running right now, Monaco is going to open up some distance between himself and Henson going into next week. Which, by the way, if these drivers hadn't had their fill of concrete surfaces this weekend, we're going to another concrete-based racetrack next week, as we'll be at the Monster Mile doubleheader with the Lights and the Cup Series drivers. For the Light Series drivers, it'll be their first elimination race of the season. We'll whittle that playoff field down from 10 to 7. And we already know one driver that is moving on in Colin Grace on the light side to that next round. For the Cup drivers, we'll be heading in with only 12 drivers remaining for the championship title, as Fogelman, little slip up there in 1 and 2, opens up the door for RJ Bishop. But we will have 4 eliminations after this race, and next week we will begin the round of 12 at Dover International Raceway. Following that, the Cup drivers will stand alone the following weekend at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, and then we'll have the Lights drivers back in the next doubleheader, which will be at Arizona Speedway. That will be an elimination race for the Cup Series drivers. That will be the middle race of the round of 7 for the Lights drivers. A couple of Fords back here side by side for 5th. Dylan Young trying to make the pass on Keith Batson. Batson will pull right up to the right rear quarter panel, try to draft him back. Nick Gunther looking on in the 55, doing exactly what he needs to do right now to try and point his way up into the top 12. Right now, it's kind of difficult to eyeball it and figure out who the 4 drivers would be that would currently be sitting in the 13th through 16th spots, those elimination spots. Daniel Voiles, I feel, is one of them, still back there in dead last. Nathan Ormond, I would have to assume, would not be above the cut line either. I believe he'd be down there. Same for Summer Henson, but then after that, I'm not really sure. It'd be really close between Nick Gunther, James Qualls, Matt Haas, who's up here, Eric Sadler, RJ Bishop, Alexander Rowe. It would be super, super close. It's just too close to call. As Gunther looks to make his way around the outside of Dylan Young, and he'll do so. So move Nick into 6th. Dylan falls back to 7th. Matt Haas in 8th, and then side by side for 9th between Cody Lamas and Eric Monaco. A lot of pressure for James Qualls coming in tonight, but he is rising to the occasion. Let's go on board with the Wix Filters Chevrolet. Listen in to how you have to pedal to make your way around this mile and a third racetrack. Hold that thought. Hold on. I didn't even see the lap we were on. We were in that 30 to 35 lap range that I was talking about. Green flag pit stops begin here. And Benjamin Snyder not going to allow anybody the benefit of the undercut. He's going to be the first one to pit road, bringing a host of others with him. So who stayed out? Bishop stayed out. So he'll get himself a bonus point for a lap led. First driver not named Benjamin Snyder to lead here this afternoon. And now Bishop will come in. Gunther will follow him. Cody Lamas, Matt Haas. Does anybody else stay out an extra lap? Does not look like that's going to be the case. Everybody else is coming down here, either on lap 34 or 35. There's Benjamin Snyder still completing his service. Down and away. Whoa, Fogelman! Fogelman's going to get him. Fogelman's going to leapfrog him. That number 1 pit stall does not pay off for Snyder. Fogelman gets a better launch. So did Qualls. Snyder's going to fall back at least to 3rd. Fogelman qualified 5th. Qualls in 6th. They had a better launch out of their pit stalls in terms of momentum to the commitment line at the exit of pit road. And I believe Fogelman is probably going to cycle to the race lead. There's the rest of the field coming off of pit lane. Let's see where RJ Bishop's at. As I believe, there he is. Where's he going to cycle around to? Maybe 4th? Depends on how much momentum that 45 of Eric Monaco's got here through 3 and 4. So this is going to make things interesting because 105 laps, most drivers got to lap 34, others were able to get to lap 35. Do the calculations, folks. 35 laps plus 35 laps is 70. What's another 35 laps? 105. If drivers that pit the first time around there, 34 laps into this run, if they can only go 35 laps on these next 2 stints, guess what? They're 1 lap short. If there's any drivers that can go 35 laps here on this run and pit on lap 70, they should be able to make it the rest of the way. We are literally right on the number to be able to make it on fuel. And some drivers could find themselves half a lap to a full lap short. Let's take you through the field here after the cycle of pit stops. See who gained, who lost. Fogelman, he gained. Playoff contender to the race lead. James Qualls jumps up to 2nd. Snyder, who led the opening 33 laps, now fades to 3rd. Eric Monaco did get around RJ Bishop, so he'll cycle into 4th. Bishop in 5th. 6th will be Keith Batson. 7th, Nick Gunther. 8th's going to be Cody Lamas. 9th, Dylan Young. And Levi McIntyre now jumps up into the 10th position. 11th, Hiccup Bush, making only his 3rd start on the season, looking for his 3rd straight top 10 in as many starts. He's 11th place with Matt Haas in 12th. Laura Chung 13th. Kyler Sustre is now up to 14th, and Michael Norman would complete the top 15. Let's find out where the rest of our playoff drivers are all after this pit stop. Ryan Brommer, he's 17th. Alexander Rowe, he is in 19th. Jack Mitchell in 20th. Carson Gums up to 26th. Nathan Ormond in 31st. Destin Bolin fell a long ways back. He's now in 32nd place. Daniel Voiles picked up a couple of spots, but he's still mired back in 37th. And Summer Henson is right now in the 41st position. So Ormond, Henson, Voiles, it's not looking good for them right now. Casey Hoyt way back here. Last car running, all 42 drivers still on the lead lap, but Casey Hoyt, don't know if he had something happen there on pit road. He's lost touch with everybody, as he's currently on the front straightaway as the leaders are on the backstretch, so almost half a lap down is the driver who went to victory lane 3 times last season for Lake Effect Autosport. Benjamin Snyder's gotten around James Qualls. He's moved back up into 2nd place. Qualls now back to 3rd. We were going to do this before the cycle of pit stops began. Let's now go on board with Wix Filter Chevrolet and listen to how you have to work the throttle to make your way around Nashville Superspeedway. Great looks there from inside the cockpit of James Qualls Chevrolet. As you saw Benjamin Snyder try and make a move there on Reggie Fogelman. Didn't pan out. Qualls tried to take advantage for second. Wasn't able to get that to work either. But we were listening there. It was hard to tell. But through the center of the corner, it almost sounded like there was a downshift taking place. Trying to get a little bit more tire spin there. Get a little bit more grip to get the car to turn through the center of the corner off. I don't know if that was just the tone of the engine as it reached a lower RPM, but it did sound like some downshifting going on there with Qualls. Side by side between some teammates here. RJ Bishop on the outside, Dylan Young on the inside. This will be for 6th. Levi McIntyre closes up there. Had to bail out of the throttle a little bit. Slipped up out of the groove. Now Nick Gunther looks to his inside. That'll be for 8th place. And Eric Monaco, we saw him be one of the first drivers onto pit road, cycled up to 4th place. Monaco looking for his 2nd win in 3 races. We've had rookies go to victory lane multiple times in the season. Last season, Connor Breton did it. Casey Hoyt did it. Will Goss was a 2-time winner in his rookie season, so it's been done before. We haven't had any of our rookies go to victory lane twice here this season. Summer Henson, Eric Sadler, and Eric Monaco, all with 1 win each. But again, like I said, we got Fogelman out in front leading this race. But look at some of the candidates we've got up here that could make it 3 races in a row of a non-playoff driver going to victory lane. Snyder in 2nd, Monaco and Batson here in 4th and 5th. Dylan Young back there in 8th. Cody Lamas, who's cracked the top 10 now. It's still possible, though it could come down to just merely points as to whether or not you're going to get into the next round of the playoffs or not. But a lot of pressure on certain drivers coming in, not so much for Reggie Fogelman. He's put together the best first round so far of the 16 drivers. Subsequently, he's at the top of the playoff standings, and he came into this race with a cushion of 42 points back to James Qualls. He's running ahead of everybody else, obviously, being the race leader. He was a driver that only needed to finish in the top 30 here this weekend to be able to advance into the next round. And right now, Fogelman doing a great job, got there based off of the cycle of green flag pit stops, getting the launch in that 5th pit stall, and now looking for his 2nd win on the season, 3rd of his career, and an automatic ticket into the next round. And bear this in mind, as far as the playoffs are concerned, you rack up playoff points with victories in the regular season championship and the regular season for the first round. If you win a race in the first round, you get 5 bonus points towards the second round. So if any of our playoff drivers go to victory lane here this evening, if we ended up having any of them go to victory lane in the first 2 playoff races, they would carry the 5 bonus points from that victory into round 2. Same would apply from round 2 into round 3. The only round where bonus points do not carry over would be into the final race of the season, where our final 4 would be on a level playing field, would all be sitting at, I believe it's 4,000 points each. And then highest finisher ends up taking the championship. Benjamin Snyder trying to take the race lead back after he lost it on pit road. We're about 17 laps away from the money stop, and it's going to be a telling round of pit stops here too, because again, like I said, based off of the numbers that we're crunching here, if you come to pit road on lap 68, lap 69, you're not going to make it to the checkered flag on fuel. You're going to have to pit with 1 or 2 laps to go. If you come to pit road at the completion of lap 70, you should be good to make it the rest of the way. We saw about half of our drivers come to pit road conclusion of lap 34. We saw the other half come to pit road conclusion of lap 35. The drivers that pitted second time by, in my opinion, are the ones that should be able to make it on fuel, but that is not guaranteed. Keith Batson and Eric Sadler, make that to Eric Monaco, they have been battling for that 4th position in the last couple of laps, and as a result, they're losing touch with the top 3. Let's see if getting single filed out now they can reel those guys back in. They obviously want to, because this gap would be important for Fogelman, Snyder, and Qualls to maybe cycle back out to the top 3 spots after the pit stops are completed. They'd have a little bit of a buffer of about 2.5 seconds back to this group. Let's see if Batson and company can reel them back in. Another driver that didn't have a lot of pressure coming into this one was Ryan Brommer. And Brommer is 13th, so he's in good shape right now to advance into the next round of the playoffs. Look at the moves he's making there around the outside of Hiccup Bush. Takes the run, dives to the inside of Dylan Young, headed for turn 1. Really impressed with Hiccup Bush here as well. In the hunt for a charter next season. Non-charter entry this season out of World NOS Racing, and he's only made 2 starts here this season, but how about these numbers here? First 2 starts, average starting position of 12th, average finishing position of 9.5. Now his average starting position statistic will take a bit of a hit. He rolled off the grid 24th here this afternoon, but again, just outside of the top 10, 12th place, and looking for 3 straight top 10s in his first 3 career starts. Got the gold playoff banners up here with Gunther, McIntyre, Haas, all hoping that these top 10 runs that they're currently on will move them on to the next round. Matt Haas is going to be an interesting one because he came into this race 16th of the 16 playoff drivers. Now he's ahead of Henson, he's ahead of Ormond. I believe he would leapfrog them. How far was he behind Daniel Voiles? He was 17 points behind him. Voiles is now 36th with Haas in 9th, so he would bypass Daniel Voiles. And then it would be close between him, Qualls, Gunther, Bishop. Where's Eric Sadler at? Eric has drifted back, and he is currently... Oh, wow! Eric has fallen. Oh, my gosh. What in the world has happened to the 12 car? Eric's all the way back in 38th. He was up inside of the top 15 beginning of this race. Qualified 7th, but now Eric Sadler, I think, would fall below the cut line. So right now, just eyeballing some rough calculations here, I would say the 4 drivers currently below the cut line would be Eric Sadler, Summer Henson, Nathan Ormond, and Daniel Voiles. But that could change. We still got a round of pit stops coming up here. We are projecting that some drivers may not be able to even make it on fuel depending on when they make this upcoming pit stop. Have to wait and see how it culminates here. We're going to have less than 10 to go here before these drivers will have to dive onto pit lane. Now remember, Fogelman, Snyder, and Qualls, they all came to pit road at the conclusion of lap 34. So they, despite the fact they're up here at the front, Snyder has led 33 laps and Reggie Fogelman just led his 27th lap. Right now, they would fall into the category of drivers that we would have projected not being able to make it on fuel on this final pit stop. Believe the highest running driver that would be able to make it, as we're looking right now, would be RJ Bishop in 6th. Again, this is provided that these drivers here come to pit road at the conclusion of lap 69. Nice. If they come to pit road conclusion of lap 70, then they should be able to make it. But we'll have to wait and see. 5 laps, 5-6 laps are going to determine this. Now, we ran caution-free yesterday in the late series race, fully expecting to be caution-free here in this Cup Series race as well. Very rarely do we come to Nashville Superspeedway and it's a wreck fest. That gap we were talking about from 3rd back to 4th, it is not closed. It's, if anything, opened up a little bit more. It was, what, about 2.5 when we checked in last? It's now 3.3 seconds from James Qualls back to Keith Batson. So, honestly, I don't see an undercut working here for these drivers to gain track position. I think right now, especially if you're drivers like RJ Bishop or those that came to pit road at the conclusion of lap 70 or at lap 35, you're looking for lap 70. You don't even care right now about the undercut to try and reel in the top 3 because you're being fed all the information on whether or not those drivers potentially cannot make it on fuel. Run your own race at this point. Qualls is going to get to the outside of Benjamin Snyder. Try and leapfrog him for a position before the pit stop cycles begin. Reggie Fogelman a few laps away from taking the bonus point for most laps led here this afternoon. As that time by, he just led his 31st lap, 2 off of the 33, led by Benjamin Snyder, the pole sitter, who got really tight, you saw right there. Either tight, actually that might have been a little bit loose as he rode up the hill and almost got into James Qualls. That bailing out of the throttle allows Qualls to take the second spot, and now Qualls will set his sight on Reggie Fogelman. With Fogelman cycling out to the lead here after that pit stop cycle, much like in a super speedway or any of your speedways, he's obviously creating the draft for drivers behind him. There's no way, unless he's backed his pace down, that he's been able to save fuel. Qualls and Snyder, though, being in the slipstream, yes, they've got dirty air, but they also are getting the draft, which will help them in their fuel mileage. As here comes Fogelman to pit road, and he's coming to pit road at the conclusion of lap 68. That's even earlier than what we were talking about, so there is zero chance that Reggie Fogelman can make it the rest of the way on this pit stop. He's going to have to pit again. Now we're going to get an idea of who is going to potentially be able to make it on this pit stop alone. Let's see if Qualls stays out an extra lap here. If he and Snyder pit, then I don't think they're going to be able to make it. They're going to stay out. They are going to stay out. They'll try and stretch it to lap 70. We got drivers in. Keith Batson, Eric Monaco back there coming in. I believe they're going to find themselves 1 lap short. These drivers here, though, if they can get to the completion of lap 70, I think they're going to be able to make it on fuel. And this is going to be an important pit stop between these two because this could very well determine who's going to lead the remainder of this run. Now, we saw Fogelman lead most of this run, and he was short by another lap on fuel, so maybe you don't want to be the leader of this group. Let's find out. Here we go. Bishop's going to stay out yet another lap. Make an absolute certainty that he can get to the end. Qualls and Snyder down pit road this time. Oh, Snyder's going to have difficulty getting into his box. He had to back off for Matt McIntyre. Qualls, he might have some obstruction here as well. Quentin Moore, his teammate. Qualls pulls into his pit stall. Benjamin Snyder has that number 1 pit stall. We'll have RJ Bishop and company coming down this time. Bishop going to stay out, get himself another bonus point, well, not another bonus point, but another lap led. As Qualls was able to use the launch with that number 6 pit stall. Here we go. Watch for the powder blue 32 of Snyder. There he is. Qualls down and away. He's gone. Qualls is gone. There's Fogelman. He should cycle back out to the race lead. But again, I don't think Fogelman can make it on fuel. There's RJ Bishop on pit lane. We'll see where he cycles after all this. Now, all these drivers on pit road, guaranteed they can make it the rest of the way. Bishop, Gunther, Lamas, Bush, Gum, Egan. They can all make it now. They've got a bit of a security blanket. Fogelman, I don't believe, can make it. He needs a caution to be able to save enough fuel to get to the end. Qualls, I believe, can make it. Batson, I don't think can. I think he was on pit road the same lap as Fogelman. I don't think Monaco can make it either. Benjamin Snyder should be able to make it here. I believe he's going to cycle to 5th. And I don't know what lap Ryan Brommer, Matt Haas came in. So now it's a matter of what are we racing to? Are we racing to the checkered flag? Does a caution come out and mess everything up? Get everybody back in the conversation of being able to make it on fuel. It only takes one caution period here for drivers like Fogelman, Batson, Monaco to save enough fuel under even just 2 or 3 pace laps to get that 1 or 2 laps that they're lacking to be able to throw in the clutch and save it under pacing. But if we stay green right now for Fogelman, I could see he's going to projected he's going to have to come to pit road with 2 laps to go. Same for Batson, same for Monaco. This driver right here is the big question mark, James Qualls. If I'm James, I'm letting the 39 on by. Why? Because you came to pit road 2 laps later than he did. Put him out in clean air, have him use up fuel, ride behind him and save. Because the thought process for me right now is, if Batson is a couple of laps short, or if he even is just 1 lap short, if he runs in the draft of James Qualls here, he could maybe save. If Qualls is creating the draft for Keith Batson and he's nowhere close to get draft off of Reggie Fogelman, he's in the same situation Fogelman was back on that last run. He's using up more fuel being the lead car of this group. So if he was right on the money, right on the mark, if he uses up more fuel than he's calculating, he could find himself a half lap to a full lap short. I would let the 39 on by, honestly, if it were me, but Qualls and his crew chief, I'm sure that they're formulating a plan here and figuring out what they need to do to be able to get to the conclusion as Fogelman. Look at the lead he's got here, and I think this is just a case of Fogelman just trying to dominate what he can. I mean, think about it here. He's got, what, nearly 3 seconds back to James Qualls. He could back his pace down, save some fuel right now if he wanted to. Could he save 2 laps? I don't know. If I'm Fogelman, I'm considering that fact. I mean, for Reggie Fogelman, we already mentioned there's no pressure on him coming into this race. He just has to finish inside of the top 30, and he's moving on in the round of 12. But he'd love to do so as a multi-time winner here this season. Benjamin Snyder, right now the second highest running driver that we, based off of calculations, believe can make it the rest of the way, but he's lost a ton of ground to James Qualls. There's about 1.2 seconds between those 2 drivers, plus some traffic with Batson and Eric Monaco. Matt Haas doing a great job here this evening. This is the run he needed. Struggled in the first couple of races this season. 16th of the 16 playoff drivers coming into this one. The 3-time winner has done everything he's needed to do here in this one. Riding in 6th position. Again, we're not sure where he and Ryan Brommer are in relation to what lap they pitted. Have to see if they can make it the rest of the way or not. Brommer, second in points coming into this race. Another driver just like Fogelman that only need to finish in the top 30, but he's going above and beyond. Right now in the 7th position. And we talk about momentum. Going into that round of 12 could be important. A good finish here could translate to good momentum going into Dover. But Kyler Sustre, good run for him. All 3 of the chartered entries out of Haas Racing with great performances here tonight. Fogelman showing the way. Haas in 6th and Kyler Sustre in 8th. With Laura Chung right now in 9th, and then a good battle for 10th going on here with Dylan Young, RJ Bishop. Benjamin Miles is up here now, along with Anthony McCrory. They've done a good job of working their way up through the field. Anthony started this race from 25th, Benjamin from 27th, and now they're up inside of the top 15. Jessica Shelton also up here in the 94. She started this race from outside of the top 25 and 26th. Alexander Rowe in 15th place. He was kind of mired back outside of the top 20 in the early going of this race, and he has since worked his way up into the mid-pack area, looking to advance his way into the playoffs on points. Jack Mitchell also just inside the top 20, as they'll go 3 wide ahead of him there with Shelton, Miles, and McIntyre. Michael Norman right now in the 20th position. Carson Gum in 22nd. Nick Gunther dropped a long ways back. He's now in 26th. that changes a bit of the outlook of what we were talking about with drivers above or below the cut line. I believe this would now drop Nick below the cut line once again. He was up in the top 10. He was above the cut line, so not the pit stop that Gunther was looking for. Nathan Orman just ahead of him in 25th. Nathan, I don't believe, has done anything yet to improve his situation. I believe he's still below the cut line. Daniel Voiles, he's made progress. I'll give him credit for that, but he was at one point 42nd. He's now up to 31st. And Destin Bolin back here in 33rd. Four-time winner. Boy, it's going to be really, I mean, I can't even calculate. I can't even do the math of who the 4 eliminated drivers are right now. Now, Connor Breton, 1 week removed from his second win of the season. Not the run he was looking for. And these two drivers, a couple of rookies I'd be very concerned about. Summer Henson and Eric Sadler, 37th and 38th. If they both get eliminated here this afternoon, we will have no rookies in contention for the championship here in Season 8. Those were the only 2 rookies that made it into the playoffs this season, and they right now would appear to be in line to be at least 2 of the 4 drivers eliminated in this round of 16. Qualls is pulled away from Keith Batson, so that says to me Batson might be saving to try and get to the end. Fogelman continuing to show the way. Looking at the gap, it was about 3 seconds from Fogelman back to Qualls. It's now 1.7 seconds. So either the 2-car tandem there of Qualls and Batson have been able to reel Fogelman in, or, to what I was saying, Fogelman may be backing his pace down to try and save that fuel that he doesn't have for this final run. He's about 2 laps short of making it to the finish based off of when he made that last pit stop. Could he save enough here? You know, you look at Reggie Fogelman and you go back to last season. Reggie was signed with Northeast Motorsports, and he then kind of bet on himself and ran a entry out of Haas Racing in the number 80 car when he went over and basically, in a sense, kind of swapped rides with Matthew Rodriguez. Rodriguez then, for the playoff section of the schedule, went over to Northeast Motorsports in the 24, but Fogelman getting himself acclimated to the environment at Haas Racing in preparation here for Season 8, where he would run full-time for the organization, and he has had a career year. Found victory lane for the second time in his Duracell Next Gen Cup Series career, back at the Kentucky Speedway, advanced his way up into the playoffs, and as I said, he's had the best start here to these playoffs of the 16 competitors. Comes into this race leading the playoff standings. He's led the most laps here at Nashville and looking to have just enough fuel to be able to get him home for second win on the season. Looking to be a multi-time winner along with his teammate Matt Haas, James Qualls, Carson Gum, Destin Bolin, Nathan Ormond, Connor Breton as well. You could see James Qualls and Keith Batson, though they are battling for second place, they are closing up here on Reggie Fogelman. So now Fogelman, if you're saving, you're not going to be able to save for much longer. Batson now trying to make the pass on Qualls for second. Qualls continues to stay on that top side, try and hold him off. Tries to get that run off the corner. I believe he'll do so. Qualls will keep second. Keep an eye back here at this group from fourth place on back. They're trying to close up on the top 3 as well. Monaco and Snyder and Brommer and Haas trying to make it an 8-car pack. Actually, correction, it'd be a 7-car pack. As things run right now, it's kind of easy to tell who'd be moving on, who would not, but a lot could change in these final 5 laps. Fogelman looks like he's locked in. Ryan Brommer looks like he's locked into the next round. Carson Gum is currently in 19th. That'd be enough for him to advance. Levi McIntyre, where's he at? He is 18th. I think that'd be enough for him to advance as well. Jack Mitchell and Michael Norman. Mitchell is 17th. So I think he's in good shape. Michael is 20th. I think he'd be in good shape right now as well. RJ Bishop up in 10th. I think he's good to go as things are currently scored. Alexander Rowe 14th. I think he would advance. James Qualls came in, the cut line driver, and he's up here inside of the top 3. Has been all day long. I think he is in good shape to advance. But the big question marks right now, the 5 drivers that I think are whether they're in or whether they're not. Actually, I think it's actually 6 drivers. Would be Destin Bolin, Eric Sadler, Nick Gunther, Summer Henson, and Nathan Ormond, along with Daniel Voiles. Those are the drivers that I'm not certain about, whether they're going to be in or whether they're not. The way that it's looking right now, I feel like it's going to come down to 1-2 points. I think it's going to be that close as to who's in the 12th spot and who's going to be just on the outside in 13th. Closing in on 100 laps completed. We are going to be into the crucial 5-lap period where we will know, can you make it on fuel, or will you have to make a late dive onto pit road? Reggie Fogelman. Right now, we had him in the category of drivers who could not make it the rest of the way. Projected he would have to come to pit road, even if he was able to stretch it, the maximum 35 laps, he would have to pit coming to the conclusion of lap 103. Did he save enough? Batson as well came to pit road the same lap. Walls, however, was able to stretch it to the completion of lap 70. Does he have enough in the tank to make it around to the checkered flag? Right now, Qualls, I believe, is in the catbird seat because the 2 drivers around him came to pit road 2 laps earlier than he did. So we know that he, just based off those numbers, should be able to make it further. The other thing that plays out into Qualls' favor is the next highest driver that's on the same lap number as he is in terms of fuel is currently about 3.5 seconds behind him in 5th place Benjamin Snyder. So if Qualls did run out of fuel, say coming out of turn 4, I believe he's got enough of a gap where he'd be able to coast to the line and be able to pick up the victory. But again, it all depends on what the 39 running in his slipstream has been able to save and what the 5 car ahead of him, who at one point had a 3-second gap, has been able to save on this run. I mean, that's a heck of a lot of saving. We've seen drivers maximum be able to go 35 laps. That's 37 laps on this run that Reggie Fogelman would have to try and make. And Qualls is putting the pressure on him. You can see this. This is a strategy play. Qualls is not trying to pass him. He is trying to push Reggie Fogelman, not allow him to save fuel. If calculations are correct, Fogelman will have to pit in the next 2 laps. Let's see if he can make it. It's not looking good for Summer Henson. It's not looking good for Eric Sadler. Destin Bolin is on the hot seat. Daniel Voiles as well. All these drivers currently outside of the top 30 in points. Or the top 30 in the running order, I should say. They are in not good shape in regards to where their positioning would be in relation to the 12th in the standings cut line. Elimination race coming down to fuel mileage. Batson again tried to make a move there on Qualls for second. Couldn't do it. Is Fogelman in this lap? He is. We thought he couldn't make it on fuel. The answer is yes. Batson's going to try and see if he can stretch it a little bit further. Like we said, Qualls should be able to make it, but it's not a guarantee. Remember, he was the lead car for Batson when they were trying to reel in Fogelman, so he may have used up more fuel on this run. Do either of these two make a dive onto pit road this time? Nope, they're both going to stay out. They'll come around to 2 laps to go. Monaco is in. Was that Kyler Sustre back there also coming to pit road? They couldn't make it. Batson looks to the inside of Qualls. I don't think you'd look for a move here into turn 1 unless you're confident you can make it on fuel. Look at this. Fogelman's going to come out right with these guys. Here comes Batson to the inside. He's not going to pit. They're going to try and make it. White flag in the air. 1 lap to go here at Nashville Superspeedway. We've had 2 races so far in the playoffs where a non-playoff driver has gone to victory lane. It has forced these drivers to have to make their way into the round of 12 on points. James Qualls came into this race the cut line driver, the pivotal 12th position in the standings. He gets the lead with Fogelman running out of fuel. Off of 3 and 4 for the final time. James Qualls will join the multi-win group. His 3rd win on the season. James Qualls will win at Nashville Superspeedway. Automatic lock into the round of 12. He'll carry 5 bonus points into that round as well, making him the automatic number 1 seed for the reformatted point standings. And James Qualls will now join Matt Haas and Connor Breton as a 3-time winner on the season. Carson Gum also a 3-time winner. 1 win shy of the season-leading 4 wins that Dustin Bolin currently has. How about that for fuel strategy? Reggie Fogelman, he risked it. He was in a position where he could, but he was not able to make it the rest of the way. Had to pit with about 2 to go. Number of other drivers weren't able to make it as well. Ryan Brommer was actually in that category. So both the drivers that came into this race relatively safe to advance their way into the next round. Both went with a gamble on fuel. It did not pay off. Qualls is going to win. Batson, a great run in 2nd. Benjamin Snyder will finish in 3rd. Matt Haas leading a race high 60, or make that Reggie Fogelman leading a race high 62 laps, is going to get the bonus point for most laps led here today at least. But his teammate Matt Haas will finish in 4th. Matt came into this race 16th of the 16 playoff drivers. I think that top 5 might have been enough for him to advance into the next round. Lawrence Chung in 5th. RJ Bishop, he'll advance into the next round as he gets 6th. Good run for Anthony McCurry and Jessica Shelton. 7th and 8th for them. 9th for Dylan Young and Alexander Rowe. He'll advance into the next round with a solid top 10. Benjamin Miles, good run in 11th. Hiccup Bush, so close to having it be 3 straight top 10 finishes, but we can say 3 straight top 12 finishes in his 3 first career starts, as he'll bring home in 12th. Carson Gum, Jack Mitchell, Levi McIntyre, not quite the runs they were looking for, but it'll be enough for them to advance into the next round of the postseason. With Cody Lamas, Quentin Moore, Nick Gunther, Nathan Orr, and Bryce Egan, the top 20. Now for Nick Gunther, he came into this race 1 point behind James Qualls. He obviously finishes ahead of Eric Sadler, Daniel Voiles, Destin Bolin. I think he's done enough to advance. Nathan Ormond is an interesting one because he was 15th in points. He was 6 points below the cut line. Qualls winning really shifts wherever that cut line is going to be now. I don't know. Is 19th enough for Ormond to advance? Maybe. Maybe not. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait for the calculations to conclude. Daniel Voiles, 24th. I don't think that's enough for him to advance, but we'll, again, have to wait and find out. And then drivers down here that might be a little bit concerned about. Destin Bolin, 29th. 4-time winner. Is he eliminated? Who knows? Summer Henson, 31st. I don't think that's enough for her to be able to advance. I think she's going to get eliminated. Eric Sadler finished last car in the lead lap in 35th. I think he's eliminated. Michael Norman came into this race 16 points to the good. He was another driver that could not make it on fuel. He had to pit on the white flag lap, 36th. Does this drop him below the cut line? Fogelman in 37th, Ryan Brommer in 41st. Like we said, those were two drivers that needed to finish in the top 30 to guarantee they were moving on, but I believe they built enough of a cushion, and I think enough drivers finished far enough down in the running order, like Norman, like Bolin, Voiles, Sadler, Henson. I think that they've done enough here that they're going to be able to advance, despite the fact both of them are going to finish outside of the top 35. But again, they had the luxury of being able to try that strategy here tonight with the cushion they were able to build in the first two playoff races. But James Qualls, we know for certain he's going to be going into the next round of the playoffs, picking up his third win on the season. That follows up his victories back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, one of our crown jewel races, and then Donkey Kong Jungle Raceway, the wacky road course. Third time he goes to victory lane here tonight and carries some good momentum into next week at the Dover Motor Speedway, a track that coincidentally one of his cars formerly won at. Quentin Moore, a former winner, got his first and up to this point only career win there. So some good numbers for Janet Wood Motorsports at the Monster Mile. But thank you all for tuning in to this race here from Nashville Super Speedway. We won't keep you in suspense any longer. If you enjoyed this race, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe, and become part of the crew today. We've shown your full fishing results. We are now going to show you your point standings. Take a look at your top 12 in points. Those are the drivers that are moving on. We've got them highlighted in yellow. The drivers down below the 12th in the standings cut line, those are the 4 drivers that are eliminated from the playoffs. They will look to finish out the rest of this season with as many trips to victory lane, or at least some good consistency to close out season 8. But for 12 drivers, the new path begins now as they will take on Dover, Atlanta, and Arizona Speedway. Thank you all once again for tuning in here tonight. We'll see you guys next week for our doubleheader with Lights and Cup Series drivers at Miles the Monster, Dover Motor Speedway, ready to play its part. Elimination race for the Light Series drivers, first race of the round of 12 for the Cup Series drivers. But until then, I've been Seth Cole. You've been watching another broadcast courtesy of NNSCRA TV, Offline Racing at its best.
The following has been a presentation of NNSCRA TV for the private use of our audience. Any other use of this telecast or any pictures, descriptions, or accounts of the game without the consent of the NNSCRA is prohibited. NNSCRA would like to thank all of our loyal fans, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.